It seems that Edrick put in a motion for a preliminary hearing date because when he was arrested, they hadn't had the grand jury yet. This document says he was arrested on May the 9th without bond, and he's asking for a preliminary hearing date in the immediate future to determine if there's probable cause that he's guilty. So that was July. Here's the arrest warrant served. So it's got all the counts on there, all the charges, and then this is all the information that they need to have for each of the charges, which I think is insane. There isn't any information on here. I think that's normal for an arrest warrant. Yeah, this is the affidavit for arrest where Special Agent Elizabeth Bigham went in front of a judge and said that the crime occurred and she thinks it was Edrick. The crime was on or between the 18th of January at approximately 9:45 p.m. and the 19th day of January 2001 at approximately 11:30 a.m. So apparently that's when it happened. That's a pretty wide range of times. And it's interesting that she used that as part of her affidavit for his arrest, especially when she was very dismissive about the fact that they were focusing on the morning rather than the evening. Just doesn't really matter. So then there wasn't the grand jury until the July term, and you can see that the indictment was returned in open court on August 2nd, 2024. So that is with Special Agent Elizabeth Bigham as prosecutor, Special Agent Jeremy Howe, prosecutor, and Deborah Gonzalez, district attorney. So I guess this was pre-Chris with a K. It's very vague, each of the counts, and it looks as though the witnesses were just the prosecutors. I don't really understand how that, how I don't understand what they could have produced at the grand jury to get an indictment, because even in the trial, Liz was saying that they only had that DNA on the oral swab and that was it. Scary stuff, really scary. What I find interesting, there's all the names of the grand jury people. The defence wanted to use residual hearsay testimony from Tara's mum, Virginia Baker, and it says here that shortly before her death, Tara called Virginia Baker and told her that her and Chris Melton were off and on. And on the Wednesday prior to her death, Tara called Virginia and stated that she did not want Chris Melton to be at her birthday party. And Tara was also complaining that Melton wouldn't go to school, wouldn't do anything, and was using her money to pay for his boat. So it seems as though things were not as wonderful as Chris said. Next motion to introduce residual hearsay testimony was Valerie, one of the housemates, and that shortly before her death, Tara expressed to Valerie that her relationship with Chris had become a distraction because Valerie had inquired into whether Tara was okay after noticing that Tara had noticeably reduced the time she was spending with Chris Melton in the weeks preceding her death. And the next one is about wanting to introduce residual hearsay testimony that shortly before her death, Tara confided in Ashley, another one of the housemates, that Chris Melton was not considerate and that she was doing a lot and Chris was not reciprocating. She didn't feel appreciated, and Tara had expressed frustration to Ashley, advising that Chris Melton wanted more time with her, but Tara was unable to do that, and that Tara had told Chris that she would be home alone the day before. And if you've watched the trial, you would have seen Ashley and Valerie's testimonies. I found Valerie to have less of an attitude, and Ashley, I felt like she was just trying to backpedal and reverse the things that she'd actually said following Tara's death. So she didn't come across very well, in my opinion.